Welcome to Fabloria, where we listen, we relax, and we enjoy timeless fairy tale stories. Many years ago, in a quiet, secluded kingdom surrounded by rolling meadows and whispering woods, there lived an elderly couple. They were gentle and kind, though their faces bore the marks of many years. Their home was humble yet warm, and in it lived their large family, 10 sons, each brave in his own way, and 3 daughters. Among the daughters, the youngest, named Leora, was known for her unshakable innocence and boundless curiosity. Her eyes sparkled with wonder at everything around her, and her heart overflowed with kindness. One warm afternoon, as the sun glimmered on the edges of the forest, all 3 daughters decided to take a walk along the riverbank, gathering small boats and leaves, playing as they went. They laughed and ran beneath the trees, chasing shadows and skipping over stones. By the time dusk began to fall, the sisters had collected their baskets full and were making their way home. The golden light of evening cast long, dancing shadows across the forest path. As Leora wandered a few steps ahead of her sisters, she noticed a flower unlike any she had ever seen. Its petals were pure white, glowing faintly even under the fading sun. Drawn to its beauty, she approached it alone, eager to pluck it. She bent down, her fingers trembling slightly as she reached for the stem. But then, to her horror, she realized a slender green serpent had coiled itself tightly around the flower. Leora instinctively took a step back. Before she could react further, the serpent spoke in a voice both smooth and strange, like human speech but echoing with the rustle of grass. It hissed softly, "If you promise to become my companion, I will not harm you. But if you refuse, you shall gain neither the flower nor peace of mind." Leora's heart pounded so hard she could feel it in her throat. Anger flared within her. "I will never marry a serpent," she cried. Yet the serpent was persistent. Its eyes gleamed, unwavering, and it repeated again and again, "Promise me, or I will never leave this place. I will not let you go until you swear." Fear and hesitation battled within Leora, but the thought of the serpent's power pressed upon her. Slowly, trembling, she whispered her agreement. The moment the words left her lips, the serpent slithered down the bush to the ground. It leaned close and said in a conspiratorial whisper, "Remember, I shall return for the promise you made. Keep it safe in your heart." And with that, it vanished into the tall grass, leaving the rare white flower in Leora's hands. For only 3 days, everything seemed normal. Then, without warning, a strange rustling filled the old couple's courtyard, a sound unlike any they had heard before. They froze in disbelief as a swarm of green serpents began pouring in from the surrounding forest. They climbed the walls, entwined along the roof beams, and filled every corner of the courtyard with their writhing bodies. The couple trembled in terror. The largest serpent slithered forward, its forked tongue flicking in and out as it spoke. "We have come to claim what is owed. Leora made a promise, and the time has come to fulfill it." The old man and woman stared in disbelief. Rage and fear battled within them. "Our daughter cannot marry a serpent," they cried. But Leora, tears streaking her cheeks, nodded with resignation. She had spoken the promise, and there was no way to deny it. The sight of so many serpents left no room for refusal. The weight of inevitability pressed down like a storm cloud. The couple took a deep breath and spoke carefully, trying to buy time. Patience is required. Marriages cannot happen instantly. Some preparation is necessary. The serpents hissed and twisted, allowing themselves to wait in the courtyard, their presence menacing but restrained. Meanwhile, Leora's mother hurried to a trusted neighbor, speaking in a quivering voice. She told everything that had happened. The neighbor thought for a moment, then said, "Deceiving the serpents is possible. They trust only what they see. If you present a white swan dressed as a bride, they will be fooled." Following this plan, the woman dressed a beautiful white swan in the trappings of a bride and presented it to the serpents. The swarm hissed in delight, coiling around their perceived prize. As they began to move away with the swan, a cuckoo perched on a nearby birch tree called out loudly, "Deception! This is not the bride. This is a swan." The serpents erupted into chaos, realizing they had been tricked. They threw the swan to the ground and lashed their tails in anger, demanding the true bride. Leora returned to the neighbor who advised, "Do not lose courage. Try a white ewe next." The old woman prepared a white ewe, dressed it as the bride, and presented it. The serpents accepted it at first, but again the cuckoo cried out, "Cuckoo, another deception! This is not the bride." The serpents thrashed violently, their green bodies whipping across the courtyard, filling the air with dust and fear. They would accept nothing except the real bride. The neighbor prepared a final trick, a white calf adorned in bridal finery. This time, however, the cuckoo called out a third time, "Cuckoo, not the bride, this is a calf." The serpent's shrieks filled the night, more terrible than any storm. They threatened, "If the promise is not kept, the land will dry, the floods will rise, and ye shall all perish from hunger." The parents wept, and Leora's brothers cried out, but there was no alternative. Finally, the old couple dressed their youngest and dearest daughter in the bridal attire. Leora's steps shook as she walked, but her face held a serene acceptance, as if surrendering to fate. The serpents began their journey, carrying her through forests and rivers until they reached the sea. A cuckoo called once more, urging them to move quickly. The bridegroom waited. Finally, by the shimmering waves, a young man appeared from the glimmering foam. He smiled warmly, extending his hand to Leora. "I am the grass serpent," he said gently, "transformed. Your promise has brought me here. From now on, your choice is mine, but your destiny as well." He guided Leora to a nearby island, and together they descended into the depths of the ocean. As the water parted, a magnificent palace revealed itself. Its walls sparkled like pearls, and the ceilings shone like polished silver. There they married. For 3 weeks, the palace vibrated with light, dance, and music, an enchanting celebration beneath the waves. Leora's days were filled with wonder. Every corner of the palace revealed treasures and colors unlike anything she had seen. Gradually, a deep peace settled upon her heart. She began to forget her past, her parents, and the humble home she once knew. 9 years passed. Leora and her husband had 4 children, 3 sons, Oakley, Ash, and Brant, and a small daughter whom they named Little Aspen. The children played freely in the palace, chasing pearls and fish-shaped servants, filling the underwater halls with laughter. One day, Oakley, the boldest and most mischievous, approached his mother and asked, "Mother, where do our grandparents live? I want to see them. Do they live in a palace like ours?" The question struck Leora's heart like lightning. Memories of her parents and the old home surged back, sharp and piercing. She turned to her husband, saying softly, "I must visit my parents. I need to see them." The grass serpent, now her husband, stiffened. The depths of the ocean seemed to settle in his eyes. "No, Leora, this is your new home. Forget the old land. It is better this way." But Leora did not relent. She pleaded for days, invoking the children and her longing, her tears flowing freely. Finally, he softened. "If you must go, one condition must be met first," he said. He gave her a silk bundle shimmering with golden light and said, "You may not meet your parents until you have spun this entire thread." She sat at a spindle, working day and night, yet no matter how much she spun, the magical silk remained whole, defying her efforts. Distraught, she turned to the old witch who lived nearby. The woman explained, "This silk is enchanted, not for thread, but as a test. Burn it in the fire, and you will be free of it." Leora obeyed, throwing it into the flames of her hearth. A fiery spectacle arose. A glowing creature sprang from the fire, weaving the silk from its mouth like molten gold, then vanished. Only the magical thread remained intact. After 3 days, Leora completed the task. Her heart lightened, and she sought her husband's permission to visit her parents. He gave it reluctantly. At the seashore, she called out, "If you are alive, my beloved, let the foam be white like milk. If you have perished, let it be red like blood." The sea churned violently, the waves foaming. The white foamy water turned red, revealing the grass serpent alive, rising from the waves. Leora ran into his arms, her parents embracing her joyfully. From that day forward, Leora and her children lived in happiness. Her courage and the grass serpent's fidelity became legendary. The story of her promise, the trials of deception, and the triumph of destiny was remembered throughout the kingdom for generations.